Good morning. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Arlington. We are an intentionally welcoming congregation, open to people of all backgrounds, races, genders, sexual orientations, and abilities. At UUCA, we encourage people to come for community, find inspiration, and live with purpose together. My name is Burke Kapler. I'm not Chris Johnson, but like him, I am a member of the Board of Trustees. Today is Sunday, June 5th, and whether this is your first time worshiping with us or this is your regular Sunday routine, we're glad you're here. This is a special Sunday for us because today is our annual meeting. Now, I could tell you that this is special because it's an expression of our fifth principle, which values the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and society at large. But for me, this is special because this is our first annual meeting where we can be together in person in 2 years. And frankly, it's just really, really great to be here. Yep. Absolutely. I mentioned this because we're trying a little bit of an experiment this year. So this year's annual meeting will be in a hybrid format. You're welcome to attend in person. I hope you will. But if you're not comfortable with in-person events just yet, or if you prefer to remain at home, you can watch it on stream on YouTube. So you'll still be able to access, listen, and participate in the discussion. The only thing you won't get at home is the delicious food from our neighbors at Buckingham, who are serving it right next door in the worship center. As we learned over the past few years, some things just can't be done virtually, and this food is one of them. But our service, our worship, and our annual meeting can. So for those of you who are with me here in the sanctuary, who are in the worship center, who are online, wherever you may be, thank you and welcome.
As we begin our month-long exploration of celebrating blessings, I invite us into worship with words from Reverend Dr. Rebecca Savage, a Unitarian Universalist minister who I know has traveled with this congregation for parts of its journey. Reverend Dr. Savage will be installed today as senior minister at the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Rockville, Maryland, this afternoon. And so I offer these words of hers in gratitude for her ministry and for the connections among the sibling congregations around the DC area. Rejoice. Rejoice with full hearts, beloved people of blessing. Rejoice. May this time of worship celebrate what we know at our core. Blessings are real and ours to claim and radiate. Blessings are abundant and ours to revel in and pass along. Blessings are transformational and ours to be challenged by as we grow towards the faith we know we can be. Rejoice.
One of the things we do on Sunday morning now is light a candle of compassion. This morning we light our candle of compassion and acknowledge loss, the ongoing pain of war, and joy. First, the loss. We hold the victims of gun violence on our hearts. This weekend, Moms Demand Action is holding a number of events across the country, and it's called Wear Orange. We send our strength and courage to the first responders and the mental health professionals that are on the front lines every time there is a mass shooting. We remind our legislators and public officials that they have to take steps to pass meaningful and significant gun laws to change what's happening here in the United States. We support the victims as they go through this unimaginable grief and are standing alone where they used to have someone by their side. I continue the candle of compassion and acknowledge the people of Ukraine and send them our strength and our solidarity as that war continues and they live every single day with that brutality. Lastly, I do light this candle with a bit of sparkling joy. So you may have noticed there are a few flags on our campus at this point. A lot of colorful flags. This month, our congregation is once again supporting the LGBTQ community with the observance of Pride Month. In June, communities all across the globe celebrate the freedom that the LGBTQ folks simply want to be themselves. The original organizers of the Pride celebrations chose June as a way to pay homage to the Stonewall Uprising in June 1969 in New York City. That event helped spark the modern gay rights movement. Pride gatherings are for those who have suffered immensely. They've lived grueling lives on the margins, simply wanting to exist in their own skin and live a life filled with their own choices. We support every single one of those individuals and their families. We want to overcome the prejudice that exists. We want them to just be accepted for who they are. Amen. And now we'll light our chalice. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. Please join me. We light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world. This morning's opening hymn is number 188, Come, Come, Whoever You Are.
And they're going to help us to sing this as a round. So I invite you all to sing it in unison all the way through, and then follow our section leaders. Ones, can you raise your hand? And twos, threes, and fours. All right, we're going to sing that round through 3 times, so total of 4 times. Here we go. Everyone, and thank you, Arlington Chorale. They're selling tickets after our service today for their concert next Saturday at 5 o'clock, right here.
Our congregation is growing. Our community, hopefully, will double in size one day. To get us, I'm ever hopeful for doubling in size. You should be too. To help us move that way, today we are going to welcome new members. Would those who are going to join the congregation this morning please come forward onto the chancel? I'm going to read their names. You're going to make a line right on the edge of the chancel. There you go. Chris Aldman, Jula Altsizer, Tim Eichers, Jen Fox and Steve Renard, Paul Gordon, Spencer Holloman and Kirsten Smith, Rob Lontock, Jeff and Sue Robbins, Grant Rose, Rachel Warner, and Bill Westman. Today, each of you has chosen to embrace the spirit of love, welcome, and understanding that flows through this church. It is my hope that UUCA becomes a beacon of light that illuminates your pathway through life. We all welcome you to this community, and we join you in this faith.
Ours is a free church. We have no creeds. Know that you are encouraged to bring your ideas and beliefs to this community to share with others. I invite you to join with us in the religious search for meaning and purpose in life, informed by our individual beliefs and the traditions of Unitarian Universalism.
Will the members of the congregation please rise and respond with the words that are printed in your order of service today? In one voice. We welcome you as once we were welcomed ourselves. We seek to be open and inclusive and will respect your inherent dignity, your ideas, and your vision in times when it is easy and in times when it is difficult. And our new members' voices. Knowing that we may not always live up to our ideals, we ask that you recognize our humanity. And when we fall short, we invite you to stay in relationship with us and help us continue to carry the spirit of love. And the congregation, we welcome you as equal members of this congregation, of this faith, and as partners on our shared spiritual journey. With great joy, we welcome each one of you as new members of our community. Will each of you please take a moment and sign the membership book that is here on this lectern as you leave the chancel? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Huzzah.
Please join us in the children's blessing song. Peace to you on your way. May you grow in love each day. Meeting new friends and opening your mind to the
What a joy indeed to welcome so many new members to our congregation, knowing that with each new member, we change. At least one of those members went directly from the chancel to his volunteer job in the back, which always gives us an opportunity to be grateful for our AV tech and all those who helped to make our Sunday morning possible. And we'll have time for some more of that gratitude, I think, later in our service. Now I am grateful simply, as Burke said, for being together, for gathering here in person, for gathering online, knowing that those who cannot be here can still stay connected to the body of this church. I invite you to join me now in prayer or meditation, to close your eyes or soften your gaze as you are comfortable. Take a breath. And feel what it is to be part of the congregation. The congregation, the assembly of people, those gathered here for years and years and for their first moments. Feel what it is to be in a congregation. Spirit of life and love, God of many names and beyond our naming, we feel your presence in quiet moments alone, on a mountaintop, or in a backyard, standing on a balcony, looking out. And we feel your presence too, the presence of life and love buzzing within and among us when we are gathered. We feel your presence in the people who share our pews, who comment in our chat, who gather in times of grief to light a candle, who gather in times of joy to wave a flag. We feel the spirit of life and love in every rustle and cough, in every little noise that is our congregation, gathered together near and far, one body. May we know how lucky we are to be congregated together. May it help us remember we do not travel this life alone. May it be so. Amen.
Sopra all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of love, come to me, come to me.
Our reading this morning is entitled Messy and Imperfect, Beloved Community. I've been going to the same church for a very long time. For nearly 30 years on most Sundays, I've walked through our beautiful redwood doors, and in all those years, I filled a variety of leadership positions, from teaching the Our Whole Lives sexuality curriculum to board president, to usher coordinator, to stewardship co-chair. And in all those years, my congregation has had ample opportunity to disappoint me. I'm disappointed when people don't think my justice project is the one we should, is the one we should collectively work on. Keywords being my and collectively. I'm disappointed when people want different music than I do. I'm disappointed that we don't all agree that our children's ministry is the most important priority in the church. I'm disappointed that people don't give enough time, talent, or treasure to the church as I do. I'm disappointed, well, you get the idea. 2 or 3 times over the years, I've been so disappointed that I seriously questioned remaining in the congregation at all. On those occasions, I've thought, screw it. I'm just going to stop going to church for a while or forever. But staying away has never helped me through those times. Rather, coming in closer, telling people about my spiritual crisis, listening, sharing, caring, and worshiping, those are what have helped me. Because we are not in church to be with people who want to sing the same music or rally for the same cause or attend the same retreats as us. That's not why we're in church. We are in church to learn to love better. We disagree, we annoy, we flake out on one another. We also worship, support, hold, and affirm one another. There is really only one choice between imperfect community and no community. Again and again and again, we are all called to choose to commit ourselves to building a more just, a more diverse, and yet an ever messy and imperfect, beloved community. This morning's reading, Messy and Imperfect Beloved Community by Lila Ibram.
Thank you so much to the Arlington Chorale for that beautiful music. I often think music, especially multi-voice, harmonic, a cappella music, is such a beautiful metaphor for how we are in community with each other, listening to each other and singing back and forth. And if you loved the music, I do think Arlington Chorale has a concert here next weekend. Is that right? So keep an eye out for that and get your tickets and enjoy yet more. And let me say, too, that it is really good to be back. As some of you know, both Rev CTC and I got COVID the same time, which someone pointed out was maybe taking teamwork like just a little bit too far. We are both feeling so much better. So glad to be here. We were texting each other how much we missed being at church and did you see it online? And so we are glad to be here. And if you hear us coughing, please know that it is an annoyance and not a concern at this point. So we feel well. I love the reading that Rev CTC shared this morning from Lila Ibrahim, Unitarian Universalist lay member. And I have found use for it time and again in ministry. It's just amazing how frequently it seems like exactly the right thing to say. It is a reminder, I think, of the fact that we are human and messy, and also that what we are doing here together is something beautiful. Something amazing, something worth having, worth working for. There's no other place, really, where you find yourself in a community like a congregation. We're not friends that we've picked along the way because our humor clicks with each other. We're not a family where we have all this shared history. We're not members of a bowling league where what we have is the same hobby, right? We are here together because there is something we need from this place, this gathering of people, which is ever changing, and because there is something we can do together, something we can be together. At the very beginning of this church year, Rev CTC asked us to throw open the doors of welcome, to imagine what we could be if our welcome was broader and more inclusive. And she did not promise that it would be easy. I know that that message caught fire with folks, perhaps with some of you, perhaps with some of the new members who have been recognized this morning. And what a joy that is, to see those who are, by their very presence, changing us, just as every person changes us. Unitarian Universalists are sometimes a little wary of the term evangelism, though I would argue that was perhaps what Rev CTC was calling us to back in September. I think... Need a little mirror right here. I think, though, that when we shiver at the word evangelism, we are really thinking of proselytizing. You know, proselytizing means trying to convince, trying to change somebody else's point of view. Evangelism literally means sharing good news. And we are surely creating something good here. But don't take my word for it. We are blessed today to have two of our graduating seniors who have agreed to share their thoughts with us this morning. You know, I think sometimes we imagine that our teens are kind of new and growing in the faith. We celebrate their coming of age or their completion of the RE curriculum. But these two have been part of our community for 9 years and 10 years, respectively. And that is edging into long-term status. Our teens have seen parts of the congregation that are sometimes hidden to adults. And I am so grateful for their sharing today as they reflect on their experiences. Abigail is going to start us off.
Hello. My name's Abigail Fuller. I'm a senior at Yorktown High School. And basically at Yorktown, we have something called Senior Experience. So in late May, once everyone's done with exams and stuff, we get to go off and we get to do an internship. And I did my internship here. And it's still going on. So technically, I'm still doing my internship here. And I love history. I live for history. I'm majoring in history. History is everything to me. So I've been spending this time in the archives, going through documents, sorting things, writing little write-ups about various things. It's a lot of fun. And over my 2 weeks here so far, I've just noticed so many instances in church history that I feel like no one talks about that's just like, wow, what a congregation we have here, like what a community this is. I mean, this church was founded in 1948, and starting in 1948, workshops began over the summer where Black children could go and could be educated a little more than they were in school. And then starting in the 1960s, so I'm really nervous, I'm shaking a bit, so sorry about that. Starting in the 1960s, they could go there when schools were integrated, they went to the summer camps and they made friends. So they knew when they could go to school, they had friends there, and I just think that is so wonderful. 1948, that is so long ago. I mean, there's so much social strife happening at the time. Oh yeah, sorry, if that's, there's so much, social injustice happening at the time, and those children had a place they could go within this community where they could be safe. In 1956, UUCA sponsored Hungarian refugees fleeing the Hungarian Revolution of 1956. In 1972, they did the same for Vietnamese refugees, and at that same time, they were offering draft counseling for young men in this area that had been drafted into the war and obviously didn't know how to handle it, which I've never heard of draft counseling before in my life. I didn't know that that was something anyone did, because honestly, who else did that? Like, that's a UUCA thing. That is so cool. And in 1984, they were a sanctuary church for a Salvadoran family for, I don't know how long, but I'm pretty sure it was a long time, where the Salvadoran family were able to stay here to avoid deportation. And then in the next year, UCA was a place that housed multiple homeless people. And the county seeing all the homeless people living here inspired them to buy a homeless shelter. Which I also thought was very cool. And finally, of my little I'm going to talk about myself and my experiences too, but my historical rundown, the last thing in honor of Pride Month I noticed was in 2007, UCA sponsored the first LGBTQ+ prom in the metro area, which is really cool. And so yeah, now I'm going to talk about myself. I came to the church when I was in 3rd grade. My mom grew up in the church. My grandparents were an interfaith relationship. They met here. It just always so cool. And I always had fun. Shout out to my mom back there for playing us Lego videos of various Bible stories. I remember them, thanks to that. And yeah, thanks, Mom. Starting in 7th grade, we had a program called Neighboring Faiths. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with Neighboring Faiths. It was where the 7th graders would get to go every Sunday to a different church service or a different faith, different religion. And I have gained so much from that. And that is something I've never met another person outside of the church that has had an experience like that. I have been to a Hindu temple. I have been to I've been to Rodolph Shalom, I've been to a Catholic church, I've been to everywhere. And that has just been such a valuable experience for me that I don't think I would have if I went anywhere else. In 8th grade, we had OWL. And OWL was also, just what an amazing program. I know I'm wow, but wow. OWL is I have talked to people who are not from this church, and I'm like, oh yeah, in 8th grade I had sex ed at church. And they're like, at church? Yeah. And that's and it was such a comprehensive program, and I learned so much from it. It was such a safe place for 8th graders to be. Now I'm only 4 years out of 8th grade, but I just cannot imagine, power to you, Mr. Kaplan, all the people that teach sex ed to 13-year-olds, because it's a job. And finally, I just want to talk about youth group. Back in my day, before we had coming of age, youth group was what you went to right when you started your freshman year. And that that experience changed me forever. The people in youth group, especially when I was an underclassman, freshman, sophomore, they helped me understand so much about myself as a person that I really I'm forever in debt to youth group. And it's such a good representation of the kind of person that this church is creating, because I always felt when I went to youth group, I could go there and I could talk to people and I would never be judged. And that was just like so valuable to me. And I know I kind of rambled. This probably was either too short or too long. I'm not really sure. But I just wanted to say that like this church is just such a wonderful community. There's so many examples with my own time here and within just the history of the church that just, wow, this is just a wonderful place to be, and there's nowhere else like this. And I just want to say thank you to the church. I'm going to University of Washington next year. There's a U congregation around there somewhere. I'll definitely be back. And you're all very lucky to be here, and this place is also very lucky to have you. And just thank you.
Should I bother saying anything now? I will let you in on a not so well kept secret of the ministry world. At the end of the church year, May, moving into June, ministers get a little crispy, might be the word, little crispy. And then the annual meeting comes, debate and voting, and sometimes we really wonder whether we believe in the use of the democratic process in our congregations and in the world at large. And then, thank goodness, we often have our coming of age service and our teen service, and we hear why we do this work. I don't mean we ministers, I mean we, OWL teachers and Lego Bible story showers and welcomers and ushers. This morning we sang a song, a favorite of mine, Come, Come, Whoever You Are. UU ministers actually like to use that song to start meetings. People are milling around getting their name tags and their coffee, and then someone will start singing. And it's relatively effective. But I always like to remember the original words of Rumi's, which might be translated with much fiercer language. Not just come, wanderer, worshiper, lover of leaving, but come, person who is always wandering. Come, idolater. Come, deserter. And then it goes on. Though you have broken your vows 1,000 times, come yet again, come. That song, that poem speaks perhaps to the idea of forgiveness, but maybe even more to the idea of covenant, to the way that we are connected together, even through challenge, through the things we are most proud of in our church history, and the times when the church has broken our hearts, to the times when we aren't even sure who we're going to be together, and the times we're just annoyed by the length of the committee meeting. We choose to be together, to travel together, to return again and again. I'd like to invite Christoph to share as well his reflection about returning again and again.
Hi. My name is Christoph Shore. I'm a senior at Washington Liberty High School, and a few weeks ago, I finished all of my exams, the last of my assignments, the last of anything that I will ever do in high school. Thank you. I graduate in 2 weeks, start a summer internship in 4 weeks, and I moved to Charlottesville to start college in 10 weeks. So it's a little bit of a transitional period, Some stuff is changing. And naturally, I've been looking back on my life up until this point, and my mind keeps circling back to this congregation and to what this congregation has meant for me, done for me, and inspired me to do. And as I reflect on these experiences, a lot of thoughts and feelings surface. I'd like to share a few of those today with a bit of a focus on my personal favorite of the 8 principles, because I see it as a precursor to the others, and that is the 4th principle, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. And this has meant different things for me throughout my time as a Unitarian Universalist. Back when I was the 3-foot-tall, curly-haired, blonde kid, really short, I was in RE, and if I'm being 100% honest, I don't really remember it that well. But what I do remember basically boils down to how we learned together, we played together, and we were taught to communicate and understand one another, furthering our understanding of truth. And eventually this RE program led me into the OWL program that Abigail discussed, and truly this was a blessing for me, but also for my parents because they did not have to explain to me how babies are made. So that was very nice for them, I would imagine. In all seriousness, though, I am constantly thankful for OWL. It really is a blessing not to be clueless about that stuff. It's nice. And additionally, we were introduced to gender identities and sexualities that fall outside of the cisgendered heterosexual norm. And what was key to this was an encouragement to explore our own identities, to find truths about ourselves. We weren't just taught what it means to be queer and transgender, these terms being presented as alternatives to a pre-established truth, but rather we were presented with these terms as possible descriptions of the truth. And this was one of the first times for me that the idea of heterosexuality in myself was challenged. And this was absolutely crucial for me because it catalyzed the process of grasping my own sexuality and then coming to terms with being something that might not be what was expected or wanted from me. And eventually, after this, our cohort entered the youth group in 9th grade. And this is easily one of the most important communities in my life, one that's given me undying support as I grapple with sexuality and mental illness, and I have very vivid memories of our service trip in 9th grade when we went to West Virginia. My friend Ava and I sitting on those hills one night, just exchanging stories about our experience with those struggles and our conceptions of truth and meaning. And I've learned a lot from the people in youth group, and this community has been absolutely wonderful in supporting me as I sculpt myself into a human being that I could be proud of. Okay, so up until now, this has been a pretty feel-good reflection, right? But I do have one little point of contention to offer on behalf of the fourth principle, and that is on our internal culture of non-confrontationalism. It's a phenomenon that pretty much every other member of this congregation that I've talked to about it has been like, yeah, that's the thing, it's kind of annoying. And it's this phenomenon where it feels like every idea that's offered needs to be humored and every suggestion needs to be allowed to float in the air unchallenged, delaying, an agreement on a slightly more practical solution. It's it's what Reverend CDC was touching on, where sometimes we have disappointments, but we sometimes don't voice them. And we sometimes don't explain, hey, maybe we don't want to do that, because what's happened is, as Amanda said, meetings stretch on longer than necessary, and it's an efficiency, even in the youth group, because in our efforts to provide a safe space for all ideas and beliefs, we've unintentionally placed a taboo on the word no. That's a word that we reserve for outsiders, for racists, sexists, homophobes, the people that we disagree with. But y'all, it's really not that deep. If someone's idea is wrong or illogical, we're allowed to say no. Because in our efforts to be kind, we've left behind some of our honesty. And that's where the fourth principle comes in. Because how can we have a successful search for truth and meaning if we ourselves can't be truthful with one another? And this is important because, as I mentioned earlier, the fourth principle is, in my view, a necessary precursor to the others. And I believe this for the following reason, because if we do covenant to affirm and promote our principles, it is because they represent our conception of the truth, and through them we find meaning. For instance, the first principle declares unequivocally that everyone has human worth and dignity. And this is a truth that becomes so glaringly obvious in our pursuit of meaning, because when we search for meaning within our lives, we embark on a journey that inevitably binds us to one another in such a way where within the past 18 years of my life, I have gleaned knowledge from every single person I have met, and I have made friends that I love with an unimaginable intensity. So of course, everyone has inherent worth and dignity. And through this continuing process of seeking truth and meaning, we derive the rest of our principles, including, very recently, the eighth principle that our congregation adopted, which is a gleaming example of what we can accomplish when we embark on an honest search for truth. So, I guess to summarize, really, all I'm saying is that this congregation has granted myself, and a lot of us, a wonderful place from which to explore and to understand. As we continue to support one another on our journeys, we can still hesitate to say no, but we shouldn't be afraid to say it. We shouldn't be afraid to openly disagree with one another, because only through disagreement can two assertions synthesize into truth. And so only through disagreement can come resolution. So let us always be appreciative of one another and our differences in opinion even, because when our differences meet, they teach us, and occasionally they compromise into a shared truth. Thank you.
Sometimes I think our whole evangelism plan should just be showing clips from what our teens say. That's actually the end of that sentence. Yep. I loved Christoph's reflection on the importance of no. I might call it, too, the importance of boundaries, right? Knowing where I end and you begin, and being able to tolerate that we have differences between us, differences of opinion, differences sometimes of values, differences of background. Without a good no, we cannot say yes. Yes to all that is possible as we work together. I'm wearing today a stole that is one of two that was created back in September. RevCTC has the other one. You might remember it. It was RevCTC's idea, actually, to create these stoles. I think originally we thought of handprints, and then some other staff needed to come in so we could figure out exactly how it would work, and we decided on thumbprints. These thumbprints are from members of UUCA, the broader community, the children and adults. They had some support along the way in the form of a thumbprint art book that Leanne found, some guidance in their creation of their designs. The end result is messy and imperfect, and ours, yours, this congregation's. And so when I put it on, as much as I love the little tiny frog and that cute little mouse with the yellow belly, and there's some kind of chalice here, what I love most is that we created it together. The blessings of this congregation come from all of you. There is no great miracle beyond the ones that we build, that we create together. It is indeed a joy, a challenge, sometimes annoying, often inefficient, ever growing and changing and getting better, but a blessing to be a congregation. Amen. You to rise for hymn 323.
At the circle of enabling love, where people grow forgiven and forgiving, break not that circle, make it wider still, till it includes, embraces all the living. Come wonder at this love that comes to life, where words of freedom are with humor spoken, and people keep no score of wrong and guilt, but with that human bonds remain unbroken. Join then the movement of the love that frees, till people of whatever race or nation stand on their feet, see eye to eye with laughter and elation.
We are a congregation that gives. We give of ourselves to each other. We open our wallets and our pocketbooks and take out our debit cards and give to the community. In the month of June, 70% of our offering taken on Sunday will go to a nonprofit organization that serves low-income persons in Alexandria. This group is called Alive! Exclamation point. Alive is operated by 50 affiliated congregations of different faiths, including UUCA. We have been active and alive and been a member of it since 1990. Your offering today will provide food and help to prevent evictions for those who are struggling to make ends meet as the pandemic continues and inflation increases everyday living expenses. Alive offers basic services to alleviate the suffering caused by poverty. It brings together diverse faith groups, and those services include helping the newly arrived, the longtime disadvantaged, the disabled, and the low-income elderly. Please visit their table after the service today in Fellowship Hall to get more information about the organization and learn how you can volunteer to help the organization. Will the ushers please take an offering? Give as generously as possible, dig deep, write those checks. We are blessed with music extraordinary this morning. Thank you all. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. One more thing about Share the Plate. If you are at home watching our live stream, you too can help with Share the Plate that's going to Alive. If you go to our website, there's a big old donate button that you can click on and help others. Will you please bring the offering forward? Alive is one of those organizations that operates a little bit under the radar, but the work that they do is sound and good. Please join me in the words that are in your order of service to bless our offering. We bless and receive these gifts, opening our hearts to true generosity. And together, let us be grateful when we give, be it time, talent, or treasure, for giving brings us joy. Let us be grateful for our needs and the experience of vulnerability, for they teach us how to receive in community and in love. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts to nurture this congregation, for it is a blessing to make a difference together.
Good morning. I'm Sarah Masters. I'm the Director of Congregational Life, and I'm up here now to show our gratitude for the people that are kind of behind the scenes that make these Sunday services work every week. And I'm talking about our Sunday morning ambassadors. And there are so many of these folks that I had to actually write them down, because every time I say them, I forget a group, and I definitely did not want to do that. So I'm going to tell you the groups, and then I'm going to ask everybody to stand to be recognized. These include our parking lot greeters, the people who are there in the parking lot to help you find a space and to welcome you in. Our front door greeters, who are there to welcome you into the building, answer any first questions that you have. Our welcome desk team, who are there to help with any information that you could want, help with name tags, help get people signed up for the mailing list, and help give out our welcome packets. If you're here and you didn't get a welcome packet, make sure to stop by. Our vaccination checkers, that's new this year, and those are the people that are checking vaccination cards to make sure that we're all safe. Our ushers, our amazing ushers, who make the service go well, and in addition to handing out programs and doing the collection, they also are here to help make sure that everybody's safe. They know where the fire extinguishers are and where the exits are and all of that. Our AV techs, who are just really amazing, and we're so grateful. Our coffee servers. Special thanks for the coffee servers. Our cup washers, which we actually have that a little bit on hold, but we'll be getting back to washing the cups and not using the disposable ones. And the Goodwin House helpers. Those are the folks that go over to Goodwin House and convene a group that worships together, watching online at Goodwin House. So if you are in any of those categories, whether you have done it recently, whether you haven't done it for, since the pandemic, whatever it may be, please rise and let's thank them. Thank you all so much. I have a couple of little gifts for those people. I have pineapple stickers. You'll notice that the theme is pineapples today. Pineapple is the symbol of welcoming. So I have a pineapple sticker for the name tags, and I also have a book of meditations. So again, the Welcome Desk people, who are amazing, they have those for you. And if you would like to become one of these people, if you would like to volunteer in one of these roles, we also have a sign up for that at the welcome table. And then I just have a poem to share with you. It's called Long Haul People, and it's by Rudy Nemser. Long haul people. You find them in churches when you're lucky. Other places too, though I mostly only know the ecclesiastical varieties. Long haul people, upon whose shoulders and pocketbooks and casseroles and daylight and nighttime hours a church is built and maintained. After the brass is tarnished and cushions need restitching, they pay their pledge in full and on time, even when the music's modern. Support each canvas, though the sermons aren't always short. Mow lawns and come to suppers. Teach Sunday school when there's no one else and they'll miss the service. Asked what they think of the minister, or plans for the kitchen renovation, or the choral anthem, or Christmas pageant, or color of the bathroom paint. They'll reply, individuals and fashions arrive and pass. The church, their church, will be here, steady and hale, for a long, long time. It will. For long haul people, bless a church with a very special blessing.
I find this June Sunday that I am not crispy but grateful. Grateful for this congregation, grateful for our music, grateful for Abigail and Christoph and all they shared, and for all of our graduating seniors. Grateful for the blessings of messy, imperfect, beloved community. May it be so for you as well.